Let's begin with some big news that we are getting for you at this point in time. According to US media reports, Lebanese Prime Minister is likely to travel to Washington, D.C. in the next few days after Israel asked for direct negotiations with Lebanon. Now, it comes as a fragile two-week ceasefire between the US and Iran is still holding for now, but is under a lot of strain, particularly over the issue of whether or not attacks in Lebanon are included in this temporary truce. Let me straight away go across to my colleague Srinjoy Chaudhary joining us live right now for more on this. Srinjoy, good afternoon. It's a huge development because just yesterday Israel indicated that with Lebanon the talks are going to happen separately, and now the Prime Minister of Lebanon is likely to visit Washington, D.C. What does it mean?
It's actually the last throw of the dice, because the sticking point, the biggest fly, the only fly perhaps in the ointment, is Lebanon. The fact that Iran will not talk with America or Israel if the attacks in Lebanon continue, primarily on the Hezbollah. So if this Lebanon issue is sorted out, perhaps by the Americans, if President Trump speaks with Prime Minister Netanyahu, manages to persuade him or whatever, that's what the Lebanese are probably hoping, because they've lost lots of people. They've lost 300-400 people in these last 2-3 days of fighting, mostly through Israeli bombing, maybe artillery also. So as a result, this is perhaps a chance, a throw of the dice, a last throw of the dice, because let's not forget, there are only 11 days left and the clock is ticking.
Absolutely. The clock is ticking. Just a few days are left. And amidst all of this, there's also going to be a meeting in Islamabad. And there are questions being raised whether Iranian officials are going to be part of this meeting or not. So a lot is happening. Srinjoy, stay on with us. Now, viewers, the guns were supposed to have fallen silent. It was, after all, just hours after US President Donald Trump had announced that a two-week ceasefire had been agreed to halt the war with Iran. But just as the region was breathing a sigh of relief, Israeli jets conducted a 10-minute blitz across Lebanon. A massive aerial attack that killed more than 300 people and wounded thousands. A major dispute has now emerged. Israel has been fighting on two fronts, one with Iran and the other with Hezbollah in Lebanon. So after the ceasefire announcement, initially Iran claimed that Lebanon was included in the ceasefire plan. Israel then clarified Lebanon is not part of the temporary agreement. Now, this followed deadly Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon. One of the deadliest, in fact, in Lebanon. Iran called it a violation of ceasefire and that they will not abandon their brothers and sisters in Lebanon. Now, this has now become a major friction point. And what we are getting for you right now are some more breaking inputs. The international media is claiming Israeli military has threatened to target ambulances in Lebanon as well. Israel says it will act in accordance with international law against any military activity carried out by Hezbollah, including using military facility and ambulances. However, the Israeli military has provided no evidence really to support this kind of claim that has been made at this point in time. Dr. Wael Awad, who is a Middle East expert, joining us on the broadcast right now. Good afternoon. Thank you for speaking with us here on Times Now. Two big developments, and I'd like your response on that. One, of course, being what's being claimed by Israeli military. According to international media report, Israeli military has threatened to target ambulances in Lebanon. And second important update we are getting is that the Prime Minister of Lebanon is likely to visit Washington over the next few days. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the deal between the United States and Iran was already including Lebanon and Iran, and that was agreed by the American president himself after consultation with the Israelis. But when it went back and it got a telephone call from Prime Minister Netanyahu, he pulled out of the Lebanese and he said Lebanon is out of the equation. And within 10 minutes, Netanyahu had targeted 100 targets inside Lebanon, killing more than 258 Lebanese civilians, including 1,120 injured, and many buildings has been obliterated completely by the Israelis, which means It is this frustration within the Israeli government to continue the bombardment of Lebanon and keep it a separate file. And that is why the Prime Minister of Lebanon is traveling to Washington currently, for the reason that they wanted to include in any future deal of the war that Lebanon should be in any deal between the United States and Iran.
Okay, one more question before we let you go quickly. All eyes are also going to be on Islamabad for the peace talks that are supposed to take place today. Do you think Iranian officials are going to attend it? Because reports from Iranian media seem to suggest that Iran is not sending a delegation.
No, absolutely. Iran will be sending the delegation as much as the Americans are sending the delegation. They're keeping it quiet because of the secrecy of the journey. And, you know, the Israelis are known for them, they were like the American, for deceiving and targeting anybody from Iran. And they have done it in the past. So they will be sending. And in fact, Iran has been restrained by the parties involved, Pakistan and Egypt, and not to go for any retaliatory actions against Israel because of attacking Lebanon, which was a breach to the agreement. So therefore, they will be going, and all eyes now in Islamabad to see if there could be any breakthrough.
All right, Dr. Wael, I appreciate you speaking with us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective. Let me go back to my colleague Srinjoy Chaudhary, who's been tracking all the developments very, very closely as far as West Asia is concerned. Srinjoy, now the latest update is also a cause of big concern. If Israeli military begins targeting the ambulances in Lebanon, then things clearly are going to go out of control. Then how will talks really happen?
Well, we don't know whether they will or not. These are just reports. But the important point to note is that if the Lebanese leaders do get to Washington, do speak with the president, manage to persuade him, make him change his mind, make him change Prime Minister Netanyahu's mind, there is one chance. There is a possibility of that, and if that happens, perhaps some good will come of it. Maybe the ceasefire will be for a longer period.
Right. Srinjoy, stay on with us. In fact, viewers, Israeli Prime Minister has also said that Israel would begin negotiations with Lebanon very soon. For now, Iran's proxy Hezbollah has refused to give up the arms. Lebanese officials say more than 1,700 people have been killed since Israel launched its latest campaign in Lebanon last month. Israel has said its operations are aimed at weakening Hezbollah and achieving what it calls remaining military objectives. Listen in to the Israeli Prime Minister.
תושבי הצפון היקרים, אני גאה בכם. אתם ממשיכים לעמוד איתן. אני מבקש לומר לכם, אין הפסקת אש בלבנון. אנחנו ממשיכים להכות בעוצמה את חיזבאללה, ואנחנו לא נעצור עד שנחזיר לכם את הביטחון. ההישגים הכבירים שלנו, גם באיראן וגם נגד ציר הרשע, הביאו לשינוי היסטורי במעמד של ישראל באזור. הם גם הביאו לשינוי לקשרים שלנו עם מדינות, קשרים שלא היו בעבר. לאחר פניות חוזרות ונשנות של ממשלת לבנון לפתוח איתנו במשא ומתן לשלום, אני הנחיתי אמש בקבינט לפתוח במשא ומתן ישיר עם לבנון כדי להשיג שני יעדים. אחד, פירוק חיזבאללה מנשקו, והשני, הסכם שלום היסטורי בר קיימא בין ישראל ללבנון. ישראל חזקה מאי פעם, איראן חלשה מאי פעם. אני כבר הבאתי 4 הסכמי שלום עם מדינות ערב, אני מתכוון להביא עוד. שלום אמיתי, שלום מתוך עוצמה.
Viewers, let me now take you through the reasons why Lebanon has emerged as a sticking point in this particular war. Why Lebanon issue is extremely important and can't be ignored. Now, as far as this war is concerned, there are 2 theaters. There's a proxy war that's also going on between Israel and Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah is based in Lebanon. US is not active in the strikes that are currently taking place against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Now, there is, some kind of ceasefire ambiguity between Iran and Pakistan, because one side clearly is saying that the deal included Lebanon. The other side, the United States of America and Israel, in fact, is suggesting no, Lebanon was never part of the deal. Then US and Israel are delinking Lebanon as well as Iran, because for Israel it's a two-front war. One with Iran, one with Lebanon. Iran has made it very clear, if you want a ceasefire, then the war has to stop on all fronts. Israel saying no. Israel is saying no. The war cannot stop that's there between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The war is currently on Iran's proxies. Israel is saying Hezbollah is still a threat, and Israel is now indicating that there will be separate negotiations between Israel and Lebanon on Hezbollah. Now, Israel is seeking to end Iran's influence in the entire region because Iran itself is not the only threat that Israel has right now. There are Iran's proxies, the axis of resistance that Iran also keeps activating from time to time, and that is a bigger threat for Israel, and that's the reason why Lebanon in this case is very, very important. Now, as far as Hezbollah is concerned, it is a strategic arm for Iran, and that's the reason why Iran wants Lebanon also to be part of the ceasefire agreement. Iran fears losing regional leverage, and that's why there is this pressure coming in and again that, fight against Hezbollah should also stop till, of course, a final deal is arrived at. And we have some more breaking inputs coming in at this point in time. Israel continues to maintain that they will strike targets in Lebanon. This is the latest update that we are getting for you. In fact, this is the post that has been put out by the Israeli Defense Forces, and they are saying the chief of the general staff on the outskirts of Bin Jbeil yesterday. The IDF continues to fight here in Lebanon in this sector and continues to remove the direct threat to the settlement. So this is the fresh update that we have got from IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. In fact, now let's tell you a little bit about the talks that are also likely to take place. There could be some respite in the coming days. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel will begin negotiations with Lebanon as soon as possible, aimed at disarming Hezbollah and reaching a full peace agreement between the countries. He, however, also made it clear that there's no ceasefire in Lebanon yet, and hence attacks are going to continue. So when if you talk about the talks that would happen between Israel and Lebanon, what will be the key focus? Then the key focus is going to be Hezbollah disarmament. That is the biggest cause of concern for Israel. Peaceful relations with Lebanon, peaceful relations between Lebanon and Israel. These are two very important issues that are going to be on the agenda when both these sides meet, in fact, as far as the current situation is concerned. With this, we will slip into a very, very short break, but don't go anywhere. There's lots lined up for you on the other side.